Here at Be Freaking Awesome, we believe that life is too short to be anything less than extraordinary. Join us as we explore what it means to live authentically, grow continuously, and have a blast while doing it. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Be Freaking Awesome. I'm one of your hosts, Sami, here with Angela Belford, and today we are joined by guest Nick Morrison, and I'm so excited for this conversation. So let's just get right into it. Nick, thank you for being here today. So appreciate you and your time.
Wait, throw it to me to introduce the guest. Hello.
I was saying thank you for him being here, and then gonna throw it to you. Silly goose, give me a moment. Oh my gosh, we're leaving this all in. We're not cutting it out. Angela, tell us a little bit more about how you know Nick.
Once again, LinkedIn. No, actually a little bit of LinkedIn, a little bit of National Speakers Association. So we are not in the same speaker chapter. However, I know there's different
Nick isn't
chapters.
in the best chapter in the country. He's in a different, less chapter. I don't know anything about this. I just know that everybody comes on and says, yeah, North Texas, best chapter. Whoop,
I guess
whoop,
he
whoop.
would probably argue that Houston probably is better, right? You're in the Houston area. Anyway.
I think they're all great, to be honest with you. So,
oh, look at that. Yeah. He's so much
That's
nicer
what second
than we
place
are.
always says.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I can't remember if I saw his post or anyway, LinkedIn served it up. And when I clicked on his profile, the first picture that showed up was Elizabeth McCormick, who is a dear friend and mentor of mine in the North Texas chapter. And she was down speaking to Nick's. And I'm like, oh, friend of Elizabeth is a friend of mine. And so we hopped on I said, tell me about you and tell me about your story. And he did. And I was blown away. And so I was like, you have to come on. You are freaking awesome. So Nick, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Okay. I mean, I don't know if we've got, how much time do we have? Because it's been quite a bit, but I grew up on a family ranch up in Wyoming, been in family over 100 years. Cowboying is just kind of part of my blood. I've got my grandpa, my great-grandpa, my great-uncle, all inductees in the Wyoming Cowboy Hall of Fame. And on my mom's side, on my dad's side, Nick Morrison, you trace the bloodline back and the name back to Marion Morrison, which a lot of people know as John Wayne. And so I kind of had no choice but to be a cowboy. And growing up in that area, we raised cattle and we raised buck horses, buck bulls, stuff like that for the sport of rodeo. And so I got into rodeo really young. I started riding steers when I was 9 years old and just kind of progressed through all of that, college and high school rodeo and everything. And then when I turned 18, I got my permit for the PBR, filled that, and become a professional bull rider at 18 years old. And was fulfilling the dream on the PBR tour, and then just the injury bug hit, and I couldn't stay healthy. I broke C2 in my neck my rookie year. Had to sit out the rest of that year. Come back from that. Once momentum started building again, I broke T10 and T11 in my back. That was a pretty bad one. And rodeo, you're not getting paid if you're not competing. So I sat out 8 weeks and was getting itchy, and so we put a brace on, and I rode bulls with a broken back and a brace, and it just kept setting up for more injuries. Throughout all that, I started getting knocked out, and in this time, early 2000s, late 90s, concussions wasn't thought about as a really serious thing. You'd get knocked out, and they would they'd be like, oh, you just got to rung your bell, get back on. Like one night, I got knocked out 3 times in the same night. I remember, I don't know what knocked me out the first time. Second time, I know exactly what knocked me out, but I woke up in the locker room and they were wiping blood off my face because I'd hit heads with the bull so hard that my helmet went through and sliced my forehead open. And they said, you made the short go, come back. And so I get on this third bull I shouldn't have been getting on. I mean, this was 10, 15 minutes after just getting knocked out. And I remember getting on the end of my arm, just yanked down on this bull's head. And then my next memory was in the camper. And I climb out of the camper and we're at the next rodeo. And I'm like, I don't remember any of the drive. It's like a 13-hour drive. Don't remember any of it. So I went and found my traveling partner, apologized to him that he had to drive the whole way. And he's like, what are you talking about? You drove the whole trip. And to this day, I still don't remember any of it. And so concussions started stacking on top of each other, started having some shoulder issues, had a shoulder dislocate on me, landed on it. It dislocated while I was on my bull, landed on it, jammed it, broke some stuff up in there. So they had to do some surgery. And rehab from that, and just turned 21. Was going to propose to my girlfriend at this PBR, all of this great stuff, and ended up getting life flighted out of the arena. And a couple days later, told my career was over. And so, 21 years old, my bull riding career was over before it really even has started. You know, most bull riders don't hit their stride till about 24, 25. If you're finding any success in that 18, 19, 20 range, that's very good news that you're going to have very few. There's been maybe a handful, 5 or 6 in history that have just hit right off the bat. You know, we got it right now with two kids that were 18, 19, 20, and they're dominating. So you have it happen every once in a while, but if you start having success. So my career ended, didn't really know what to do after that. I went into ministry because I'd been doing ministry. I had a ministry called Bull Riders for Christ that I was working with that we founded when I was riding bulls. And so I went to a church in Montgomery, Texas, moved to Texas, told God I'll never do 2 things. I'll never work with teenagers, and I don't want to live in Texas. And I found myself as a youth pastor in Texas. So now I tell God I don't want to live in Hawaii, and I don't want a Lamborghini. And he's listening to those because that hasn't happened yet. So I took over this youth group. I was like, I'm going to just put my whole heart into this and everything I have. And we did. We took a youth group of about a dozen kids. And within 3 years, we was averaging 200, 300, 400 kids a week. And God just kind of blew the socks off that ministry, and everything was going great. That we ended up building a ministry that went out to rural churches, and we provided their youth ministry while training up their leaders. Because a lot of times what happens is the pastor, they can't afford somebody, so they just find a young couple and they say, you're the youth pastors. And it makes a chain reaction of not solid teaching. And so we went in and we would supply the youth ministry, but train their leaders up in over a 2-year period to where now they can take it over and do it correctly and stuff. And so all that was going great. And I had to feel my adrenaline rush because I couldn't ride bulls anymore. So I bought a race car and ended up wrecking the race car. And that was the concussion that kind of pushed everything over the top. And after that, I started having a lot of issues, started forgetting where I was, forgetting who I was. I get bad nosebleed. The bad one was I was passing out, and I'd pass out, hit my head, get knocked out again, and eventually doctors were able to tie it to the concussions, and so then I started working with neurologists, and we found severe damage to my brain. We found they'd contacted the PBR doctor and some other doctors, and I figured that I'd had 26 concussions over a 6-year period. The final 6-year period of my bull riding career. And then they added on probably another 13, 14 between then and when I went to the doctors, and then they just kept counting concussions. And they eventually, when they got to 50 total concussions, the neurologist said, stop spending your money coming to us and saying you got a concussion. You know what to do. And pretty much, so they stopped counting at 50. I just hit my head and get knocked out, stuff like that. And so, had to step back from my job as a youth pastor because it was just so overwhelming. My brain couldn't handle it because a lot of stuff was happening.
We gotta consider the audience. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a lot.
I'm sorry.
No, you're doing perfect.
It's a story.
I know it is, and I've heard it once, and I just want to pause for a moment.
Okay.
I just want to pause because sometimes when we are telling our own story, you tell it so much. And so I just know our audience needs a second to pause. That's a lot.
We need a second to pause.
I need a second to pause. Right.
Oh my gosh, right. Nick, that's so much.
So how old were you at this point when you had to stop doing youth ministry?
29.
Okay.
29.
So so you'd had a really nice long career there and doing great work, and was, I imagine, very fulfilling work.
Oh yeah.
Really
I
loved those kids.
Loved every minute of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, most people at 29 are not retiring from their second career.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's what's funny is a lot of those kids have grown up now, and I meet them now as adults, and they're in their 30s now. And they'll be like, we talk about it, and I'm like, you realize you're older than I was when I stepped down from that ministry, and the blank look on their face when they realized how young I was. But I mean, I started preaching when I was 15 years old, so I mean, it wasn't like it was new to me. My dad was a pastor, I've been doing rodeo ministry, so it wasn't like I was always a little more mature in that sense than my age. And then when I was 16, I'm traveling with Cody Custer's taking me on the road with him to show him what the pros looks like. And so I'm hanging around all of the pros at 16 years old and getting to pick the the brain of these guys. And I graduated high school early. I graduated when I was 17. So everybody always thought I was older than I was. And then, and then when I jumped on the PBR tour, I'm traveling with some of the best guys in the world. Like my traveling partners one of them was considered the GOAT at the time. He was the multiple time world champion. So people always thought I was older than I was. And so I just always acted like I was older than I was, because to me, an age wasn't really anything. It's your mentality that goes with it. And it's fun to see my kids, because my kids are, that age now, and everybody's like, they're so much older than him. And I love that. So
Love it. So, thank you. We just I needed a second to just like check
Hold
in
space.
here and like hold some space, because so you're 29, you're about to retire from your second career.
And it wasn't retire, it was more
just step down,
step away. I stepped away, and I actually went and worked at a smaller church as a director of ministries. I did their youth for a few years as well, but went from a church of a few thousand people down to a church of about 100 people. And we're in that blow up process right now, where we're actually got a meeting tonight that we're going and talking about what to do next, because we don't have anywhere to put people. We're busting at the seams. And so went and worked at that church and stuff, and just kind of embrace that and step back from traveling and speaking. I did a lot of traveling and speaking when I was at the other church. It's amazing when you're working at a large church and have a large youth group, how many people want you to come speak at their conferences. But then when you go to a smaller church, they all of a sudden don't want you speaking at conferences anymore. Right. And it's like, my message hasn't changed any, but it's just the nature of the beast. And so
but your story comes to a crashing halt.
Yeah. So that was everything that I'd gone through was just building up the muscle to be prepared for probably the worst part of it. So in the process of everything, I kind of started doing stand-up comedy. That started taking off. Started traveling over the U.S. as everything was really going on. With my brain injury, one of the issues that I had is my wires got crossed during one of my concussions. And so when you're in super cold temperatures, a lot of times your body will rush all of the blood to the organs to try to protect the organs. And the wires got crossed for me, and now that happens when I get hot. Well, we live in Houston now, so it's super hot. So the doctor's like, you can't be outside anymore, doing stuff outside. And you can't tell someone who's lived their entire life outside, and if I'm not I'm fishing or I'm golfing or I'm doing, I can't do that. And so I'm like, nah, doctors don't know what they're talking about. And so I was out doing yard work and felt the blood draining from my face and my extremities, and I just kept pushing through it. And essentially what happened was the blood didn't go back to the brain, and it robbed the brain of oxygen and nutrients, and I had what's called a hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. I can't ever say that word, but it pretty much shut a section of the brain down. And I went back inside. My legs and arms were shutting down. I got into a chair and I cooled off too fast, and so I had what's called a catatonic something reaction. It's catatonic symptom reaction, something like that. And I got the nightmare of being trapped in your body. That happened to me. I was staring at a light switch, and I couldn't take my eyes off the light switch. No matter how hard I tried to look away, I couldn't look away. And then I realized I couldn't move my entire body, and I just sat there for hours, just trapped. I could feel the tears running down my face because I couldn't blink. I could feel the drool dripping off my chin onto my shirt. Like I could feel all of it, and I'm just stuck. And my wife finds me. She's able to kind of get me out of it. Actually, she started praying over me, and I kind of come out of it, and I could see her. I could look at her, and I was trying to tell her, I'm okay. Just give me some time. And she never reacted. So I said it again, give me some time. I'm okay. And the third time I went to say it, I realized I'm saying it in my head, but nothing coming out of my mouth. And part of the catatonic reaction was it left me what they call organically mute. And so my brain wouldn't transfer the ability to speak to my mouth. So even though I could think it, I couldn't say it, and I'd lost the ability to speak. Well, now, I've already had my bull riding career change. I've already had to step down from my dream ministry position, that I had built from the ground up and was loving it. And now I'm looking at, I got to stop doing comedy, because you can't do comedy if you can't speak. And I got to stop doing working at this other church. And so I realized I'm just going to put my mind to it and put my work to it. And so I worked my tail off. My wife and I did. And pretty much, long story short, taught myself to speak again, one word at a time. And now God's just opened up a bunch of doors, and now I get to travel all over the world, tell my story, encourage companies, corporations, Fortune 500 companies I've spoken in front of, organizations, just associations, all of it, just getting to speak. And I don't just tell my story. I want to give them actionable things. And so we talk about bitterness and not getting bitter, not even realizing you're bitter. Most people go through life, they don't even know they're bitter. And then someone gets a promotion and they all of a sudden are, well, why'd they get a promotion? And all this different stuff. And it's, and learning to identify that and move forward through that. And then the big one that I talk about with a lot of people is change. Understanding change, and nobody likes that change. It could be something small like a new supervisor, all the way to you lose the ability to speak. And now, that's why my book's called Knocked Out But Not Down, because you get hit with those punches that don't just knock you down, they knock you out. Your whole world's spinning, it come out of nowhere, and you're just trying to piece together what happened and piece it all. And what do you do in that change? And so I get to speak to a lot of these organizations about controlling because the only thing I can't control anything that happened. At some point you have to say, okay, I've processed all that has happened, but I can either live in that past and mope about it, or I can make this decision of, this is the new me. This is the new place I'm working at. This is the new situation that's in front of me. And so the only things I can control is my attitude and my work ethic. And if I can get a mentality with those and move forward with that, and then it kind of move forward. So anyways, that's kind of a nutshell of what I get to do now, and still do the comedy, still do all of that. But yeah.
We got some unpacking to do here.
Yeah.
So number one, what I love about one of the points that you made is you said you have to feel and process all of the feelings to reconcile with where you are and how you are. I think so often we jump to the next step. I think toxic positivity is jumping to the next step and just saying, well, I've just got to deal with this. To your point, I think that is when bitterness and anger and resentment sets in, because that processing, that feeling, that's what I did. I skipped over that step. What are some of the ways that you teach people to do that?
So I call it the 15-minute rule. And I actually, I invented that rule when I was riding bulls, because I found I was getting really streaky. When I make a good ride, I would make like 5 or 6 really good rides. And then when I'd buck off, I would beat myself up over it. I'd get in the car, and the entire drive to the next rodeo, I'd just be beating myself up, what I did wrong and all of this. And then I'd get on the next bull, and I'd have that negative thought process, and I'd buck off. And then I'd get in this hole. And then once I did good again, boom, so I was streaky. I was either riding really good or really not. And so I made this rule up for myself riding bulls, where I had 15 minutes to celebrate or be mad. If I bucked off, I had 15 minutes to say, man, that was awesome, celebrate about it, or I had 15 minutes to just be mad, whatever. And then my 15 minutes was up, and now I had to look forward at what did I do right, what did I do wrong, and what can I improve on. And to do that with every single bull. Sometimes the only thing I did right was nod my head, and that was it. But you had to find what I did right, what did I do wrong. Even if I rode was 90-something points, there's still something I can improve on. But there's that process that you can't do that if you haven't had a chance to think through. And when I transferred that over into my regular life was when Hurricane Harvey hit us, and we lost our house in Hurricane Harvey, and it was totaled out. And the insurance came in. They said, yeah, we agree this house is totaled, but we don't think it was from the damage to the roof. We think it was from the flooding. And then FEMA came in and said, we agree this house is totaled, but we don't think it came from the flooding. We think it came from the roof. And so neither of them wanted to pay for it. And so we were stuck in a house without the money, and we were in a full life reset of our entire life. Like we are literally going to zero. We're living in a house full of black mold, holes in the ceiling, the floors ripped out, walls ripped out. And that's when I decided to transfer that over into that, because 15 minutes, yeah, you have to process what happened. You have to think through what happened, because you can't reflect back on what can I change if you don't think through what happened. But at some point you have to hit that moment where you're no longer, it's no longer defining who you are. My brother broke his neck riding saddle broncs horses and rodeo, and he's paralyzed from the armpits down. And I've got 8 friends who are paralyzed. Rodeo, you're going to break your neck and your back. That's just, it's going to happen if you do it professionally. I have 8 friends who are paralyzed from rodeo accidents, and most of them are extremely successful in life, and others have never been able to move past the injury that got them there. And so you have to process that, but then you have to take that step to move forward after the processing.
Yeah, and so I think that so often when people um have when I say you have to stop and allow the feelings, you got to take a minute and feel the feelings, which I love your 15 minutes because there's actually there's a fun
TV
TV
show.
show. Yep, on it's on Apple TV where they shrinking is what it is.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And he says, and the Harrison Ford character says, give yourself 15 minutes, play the saddest music that you need to play. Or if you're happy, play the happiest music and
Yeah.
give yourself 15 minutes to literally feel all the feelings out. So I love that time that your rule like has a time stamp on it, number one. And number two, so often we think, well, no, I have to beat myself up so I will be better the next time. So just want to like anchor in this idea of like when we allow ourselves to feel out that feeling, and I would challenge and say sometimes with grief that it may come up again. I've had to do forgiveness work where I forgave the original act that happened. And then anytime that my life is different because of something that somebody did to me, I may have to forgive them again. I may need that 15 minutes another time because my life is different because of that accident or because of a wrong that someone has done to me. I think that's when Jesus says forgive 70 times 7. That's what he's talking about. It's like you may have to forgive the consequence again and again, and that's okay. There's still like give yourself that 15 minutes, right? If it's hitting you hard today, then feel it out. And then now let's reflect on it. Because sometimes we can't do something different about this thing that happened to us, but we can look at like what skills did I learn? Because I don't know how anybody could hear your story and not hear, wow, this guy's really good at, like, to your point, I love the name of your book, knocked out, not
But
knocked
not.
down, but not out.
Nope. Knocked out, but not down.
Not knocked out, not down. Oh yeah, because you got knocked out with a concussion.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just want to I want to slow that way down because so often people think that they're supposed to get stuck in the victim mindset. They're supposed to wallow in their feelings. I ain't got time for this. That crap happened to me a long time ago. Well, I can't help it. If it comes up and it hurt, if it is bothering you today, give yourself 15 minutes to feel it, because just dragging around this anger and bitterness and resentment is just icking on everybody's wow. And
Well,
so
but also, Angela, you specifically gave two ditches there as like back to back, because there is the wallow and victim, and then there is also the I don't have time for this, I can't feel this, shove it down and don't feel it at all.
Yeah.
Neither of those is actually helpful for us. It's not helpful to just like
make that
stay
your
in
message
it forever or to never acknowledge and feel it. It's that middle ground. It's that like, no, this happened and this is something that has impacted me. And I like,
now
and it's
what?
okay. And it's okay. And it makes me feel sad. And I'm going to go feel sad for a little bit. I'm not going to feel bad about the feeling that I have right now. Okay. Now I let that out and let's keep it going.
So life's going to happen.
Right.
Life's going to throw curveballs and life's going to happen. We have a decision to make at some point to let that life incident become the definition of who we are for the rest of our life. And what I mean by that is that whenever anything goes wrong, your mind goes back to, well, this is happening because that happened. And that was 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And I can't control what other people think. I can't control what other people say. I can't control what they write on social media about me. I can only control my attitude, my work ethic, what I'm going to do moving forward. And if I've forgiven that person, I've forgiven that person. And if they keep bringing it up or they keep bringing that back, the Bible also talks about divisive people. And after 3 times, you let them know, like, and I'll let them know you're divisive. I'm giving you another shot. And if they do it again, I completely write them out of my life completely. And there's some people I work with that I have a working relationship with, but they can't help but be divisive. And so I will work with you and you are a working relationship, but I have nothing outside of that because I can't afford, with brain injuries and what CTE does to the brain and how quickly the mind can go to suicidal thoughts and suicidal attempts. I can't afford to have other people implementing their thoughts about me into my mind. As a comedian, I can't read the comment section. There's so many comedians. They read the comment section and it just tears them, and they're just this roller coaster. I post it, I put it out there. If it's on the comment section, awesome, because you're gonna get a lot of great, and then you're gonna get a lot of jealous people, or just people who you're not their flavor. Yeah, I'm not gonna go on some rap music guy's deal and be like, well, this music sucks because I don't like it. Well, it's not my flavor. Give me some good country music. I love that
Yeah,
sound. Other
just
people hate
because I
that
don't
sound. It's
like
just
strawberry ice cream doesn't mean that I don't love chocolate
everybody.
ice cream. It doesn't mean that I don't love,
Exactly.
Moose
Yep.
Tracks ice cream, and that's fine. Love your ice cream.
Yeah.
Don't be mad at other people for liking different kinds of ice creams.
Yeah. But I think a problem we can make as humans is when we have something super traumatic happen. That's a part of us. That becomes something that is who we are. But I think a mistake a lot of us can make, and I'm talking about myself too, is that when something else happens in life, we always want to equate it back to this thing way in our past, and we try to bring it while that's happening. Well, I'm acting this way because this happened to me, or I'm saying that because this happened to me. And it's like, at some point it has to stop being an excuse, because that's what it turns into, is an excuse. And so you have to take that mentality of, I can't change that. I can't change what people think. Like, the person I was during that time, there's people aren't going to like me, and I have to be okay with that. There's people the people who hate my gut. There's a lot of people hate my gut. I tell the truth as it is, and that offends people. And you know what? But sometimes the truth has to be said, where people have to hear it and be like, you kind of have to get that slap in the face of wake up. I had that happen to me. I was sitting there, my brother, that's a whole chapter in my book of getting better, not bitter, is because, I'm sitting here watching my friends that I grew up with go on and win world titles and make the NFR and go do all this stuff. And I'm happy for them, but I'm like, my mind, I'm going, well, that should be me. Like, I should be there with them. And my brother called me, and he was celebrating one of our best friends winning a world title. I mean, that's a huge deal. And I'm celebrating with him. And then I said, I just wish we were there with him. And my brother said to me, he said, you can either get bitter or you can get better, but you can't be both. And that just struck a chord with me, because here's someone who I at least got to taste the pro career. His rookie year, he broke his neck and he's paralyzed, and he's in a wheelchair. His whole life is completely different. I can still do things. I can still go out and be me. And here I'm complaining. And this was his best friend. It was one of my good friends, but it was his best friend, and he's winning this world title. And here he is in this attitude of don't let bitterness. That was like a slap in my face of I need to snap out of this. And some people, they cannot get out of it, because they get addicted to feeling sorry for themselves, and they get addicted to other people feeling sorry for them as well. And so they almost feel like, it's kind of like when my mom passed away, and you have all this sorry, you have all this, you're brokenhearted, everything, and then you laugh at a joke somebody says, and you're like, oh, I can't laugh at that. I'm supposed to be still depressed. And there's a time to mourn, and there's a time for that to happen. But then there's that 15 minutes. You got to say that 15 minutes is up. I can't control that anymore. I can't change that anymore. I can't control what they think about me because of that. I can only control what I do moving forward, what my attitude is, what my work ethic is. And I have to choose, do I want to live in that past and live in the what ifs, or do I want to move forward? I was stuck in this what if, well, what if I'd have still been riding bulls? I'd have had world titles. I'd have had this. Could that have happened? We don't know, because that's a what if. But,
or you might have been paralyzed.
Yeah, or worse.
I mean, and that's part of the thing you risk when you nod your head knowing that you can get killed. You nod your head knowing that you could be in a wheelchair the rest of your life. That's what you sign up for. But the adrenaline rush, and the money and the just all of it, it's a dream. You're passionate about it.
Nick, I have a question for you. Where you are now in looking ahead, when you talk about the things that you can't, there's so many things you can't change. And I even think about when you're describing that moment when everything really, really came to that head, and you're sitting in the chair and you can't even change the position of your body. Like, that one sounds terrifying, and I can't imagine what that feels.
It's as scary as it sounds. Yeah.
What do you look towards these days when you're moving forward? You talk about my work ethic and my attitude. We talk at different times here about there are times where we can be running away from something or running towards something. Do you feel that you're in a space now where you're running towards things? And if so, what are you
Yeah,
running towards?
I don't run. I'm not running away from my past by any means. And I
Yeah.
mean, I laid the whole thing down in a book
Oh, yeah.
and all that. But what I had to do was say, what can I do now? You know, I've had to change so much of my life.
Yeah.
I can't fish anymore because I can't be out in the heat. I get confused. I can't golf. When I bend over, I pass out. Well, golfing, you bend over 30 something times a day, you know?
Yeah.
I can't, like, there's so many things I had to step back from that I couldn't do that are fun for me. But I have to work every day. So getting my speech back, my brain, it won't let, it's not I got to speak again and now it's fixed. I have to be wiring my brain every day. So I wake up early in the morning and do 2 to 4 hours of brain exercises every single morning.
Wow.
Like if I'm doing a comedy show, like the other, just a couple weeks ago, we were in Huntsville, Alabama, drove through the night, got to our hotel about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we had to be on Big D and Bubba's radio show in Nashville in the morning, and that's like the #1 country radio show in the nation. We had to be on there at 6 in the morning. So I got in my hotel at 1. I'm like, I've got 4 hours of brain exercise that I have to do because I got a whole day of PR stuff before I go to Zany's and perform tonight. So I had to make the decision. I'm not going to bed tonight because for me to be able to speak at that level and stay at that level, I'm going to need to stay up and do these brain exercises from the moment I got there. So like I'll go to conferences and they'll have me do comedy the night before and then be the first speaker in the morning. And I try to keep them from doing that because they know that whenever it never fails. Every time they hear me talk about the 4 hours, they're like, "Oh, we should have put you later in the afternoon." I'm like, "Yeah, next time you book me, please do that." Because I'll I get to bed at midnight, I get a couple hours of sleep, and then I'll wake up but I have to do that. And so I have to have a focus to look forward to. When I was riding bulls, I used to love being in the gym because I had a bull riding on my mind. I was working out with the sole purpose of I'm getting myself prepared to be a professional bull rider. When I couldn't ride bulls anymore, it was hard for me to go to the gym because I didn't have something. And so my focus is getting in front of people to help somebody who is going through something that they feel like they cannot get out of. Getting in front of people with concussion issues. And because with concussions, people can't see the injury like a broken leg. They can't see the injury like sitting in a wheelchair. And so you don't even notice that you're going through stuff. My wife always jokes that she's married 50 different men, but she's only been married once. It's because every time I get knocked out, my personality, I'll have changes to my personality. Wow. And so she has to adapt to those, and I have to adapt to those. And I can't let those be a crutch. I can't let, I've got concussions, so I can just get angry on a dime, and that's just who I am now. And it's like, no, that's not who I am. I'm going to work hard to not let that happen. I'm going to rewire my mind, and I have to do it daily. The Bible talks about renewing your mind, and that's what I do. And so my focus is other people. It really is. I can't focus on me. Yes, I love the money that motivational speakers make. Not going to lie. That is amazing. But the speaker bureaus that represent me, the different places, they know if somebody wants me and they ain't got the budget, they know I'm going to be there because I'm not in it for the money. They know they know I will make it work as long as I'm not. I used to lose money. I'm not losing money anymore. Like you got to at least cover all my expenses. Yeah. But they know that my heart is not in becoming $1 million speaker. My heart is in becoming, and all speakers we want to help that one person. I don't want to help one person. I want to get in front of a bunch of people, help a whole lot of people. I want to get my book into the hands of people, and to have our book that launched like it did in 1 week, have over 500 copies sold in the first week. I'm like, that's 500 people that can hand it to somebody else, and their life get changed, or their life be changed when they're reading it themselves. And so,
well, Nick, this has been fantastic, and we really appreciate your time. Where can people find the book?
So Amazon right now. It's right here is the book, Knocked Out But Not Down.
I love it.
And you can find it on Amazon. Search for it there. And we're going to be selling in person here in a little while, but we went ahead and launched the online sales a month early. So
fantastic. We'll put that link down. Is there also, you have a website that people can contact
Nick
you?
Morrison, NickMorrisonComedy.com is there, and then we purchased NickMorrisonSpeaking.com, and they're in the process of building that website right now. And so have those two. But right now, you can go to NickMorrisonComedy.com. You can go. There's a speaker page from there, and all of that. So
awesome. We'll make sure to put those links in the notes after this for you all. Nick, thank you for sharing your story with us. We love to talk to people who are freaking awesome and living freaking awesome lives. So I appreciate just taking a moment to share a little more and bring some encouragement to the folks here. So appreciate you. And listeners, if you're not already subscribed to our newsletter, don't forget, go to the website, the letter B, freakingawesome.com, and you will be able to get all of those links there. We are so grateful for each and every one of you. I hope you guys take something from today and go accept where you're at and use the 15-minute rule. We love you guys, and until next time, we hope you go be freaking awesome.